Today, our toy avoid rocket down. This one.
Looking for your next investment? Broaden your horizons. Commercial property is a great way to grow your portfolio. Find your next investment. Hey, so about a year ago, I made a Spider-Man web shooter, and the internet seemed to like it.
But
So this time around, I thought I would revisit this project and make it better. Like, way better. That's right, guys. This web shooter actually shoots web, and unlike last year's web shooter, which only shot bullets, this year's web shooter not only shoots web, but can also stick to metal surfaces. Now, I built this web shooter using some really basic materials like cardboard, popsicle sticks, and some magnets, so nothing fancy or complicated or anything like that. But before I go ahead and reveal to you guys how I built this, I just want to let you guys know about my Patreon page, which you can find the link to in the description down below. So if any of you guys like what I do and you want to support this channel, you can head over down there. But other than that, let me now show you guys how I built this, because I know you guys are dying to know. Alright, well, first things first, it's important to mention that I'm going to be modeling this web shooter after the Spider-Man Homecoming web shooter for really two reasons. Reason number one is that the way this web shooter is designed in particular makes it really convenient for me to make it shoot while still maintaining the majority of the aesthetic features. And you'll see more of what I mean towards the end of the video. And reason number two is I just simply think it looks the best out of all the other existing web shooters I've seen. So after I built the main body of the whole web shooter, it was time to start working on the barrel. Now, for this I got kind of lucky and I found a marker cap that was the perfect size for this. So I went ahead and cut that down to about an inch or so, and then I cut out this tiny ring out of some cardstock and hardened it with super glue. And once that was all dried and hardened, I glued that ring to the end of the marker cap. Alright, well, the barrel is done. Now let's make the projectile. And this is the little sort of bullet thing that's going to propel the string forward. And it's also the thing that's going to stick to metal surfaces when you shoot it. Now, if you watched my last web shooter video, you'll know that I used pen springs to make it shoot. But since this time I wanted it to shoot string, I was going to need something a little bit more beefy and robust than just a regular pen spring, since all of that string is going to cause a lot of friction and drag. So I went ahead and bought an assorted pack of springs on Amazon, which I'll leave a link to down below. But this way I knew I would have a good chance of finding something that matched what I needed. So guys, here it is. This is the whole idea with how this is all going to work. Right, so basically what happens here is once you put the projectile into the barrel, then you can stick a magnet to the back end of the projectile, and that magnet has a thread attached to it so that when you pull back and release, the thread will sort of trail behind that projectile, giving off the illusion that you're shooting web. Now I went ahead and glued the barrel to this sort of little nozzle headpiece, which doesn't really have any functional purposes. This is just to make it look more screen accurate. I made sure to glue this down really well because when you load the projectile into the barrel, you sort of have to use some force to push it in all the way. And in doing so, you create a lot of tension, so you just want to make sure that the barrel isn't going to rip off or anything when you do that. Well, now comes the most challenging part of the whole build, which is making the trigger. Now, I had like 2 failed attempts at this before I actually got it to work successfully, and I learned that the trick to making a good working trigger is using a lot of magnets. And now, other than that, there's no real way I can easily explain to you how I made this, since there's kind of a lot of weird steps, as you can see. So you're probably better off if I just shut up and let you watch now, because trust me,